what's coming up? What are the next big things that are coming up for OpenStack? At least as far as you can see, what are the plans?
Well, in terms of specific capabilities, like I mentioned a couple already, but the DNS service is pretty interesting. I mean, right now as a host, we have about 2 million domains that we manage, and websites, and so we run our own DNS right now, which obviously we have to ensure is high performance and balanced across our data centers and so on. So the DNS service designate is pretty interesting, certainly for us at Dreamhost, and we're gonna be helping move that forward and so on. Then there's also the shared file system, which is codenamed Manila. That's another project that's under development for the Liberty release. And right now at Dreamhost, we don't have an immediate demand for that system, but I think that's a very interesting, important project which will build that out. And then the queuing service as well, which is codenamed Zakar, is another very actively developed new project that obviously will streamline operations for OpenStack users once it's mature and ready to go. And so there's as you can tell from these capabilities, a lot of it is about kind of building out OpenStack specific capabilities that are ready for the cloud, that where operators don't have to necessarily use old software or tool sets or proprietary software or tool sets, and instead can have the capability just built into OpenStack. So in some ways it's like, well, how exciting is all that? But when you think about it, a cloud ultimately is just IT infrastructure, designed and architected a different way, and it offers incredible utility and agility and all those things. But essentially, OpenStack as a mission to be the open source cloud management platform, we have to continue to build these additional capabilities in over time, and that's part of the mission. So for us, I think specific to sort of Dreamhost's experience, which can be useful, I think what we're finding, we're just about to in a few months, it looks like, in terms of timing, we've architected basically our next generation of Dream Compute, and the developments that have been built into OpenStack over the last year or so since we launched our Dream Compute version 1 architecture and so on, have really helped us with this next iteration to be able to build a super high performance cloud at a very cost effective with a very cost effective approach. So I think that's a very practical example of where to next with OpenStack. I think you're going to hear more and more about performance. You're going to hear more and more about IOPS, and guaranteed IOPS for the block storage. Actual real world examples of that sort of thing. So it'll be less about is X company using OpenStack, and it will be more about how are they using OpenStack, what performance characteristics are they getting for their applications, and then I think that will lead more to more clarity, more case studies, examples, whether they're from operators, enterprise, or the vendors themselves, that basically point to, look, here's the best storage subsystem to use, or here's a great few options of storage subsystem that you can use, with your cloud for these particular use cases, and so on. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the the level of detail that I think is going to come out over the next year to 2 years around how people are using OpenStack, and that they're getting very high performance from it. That to me, that's the next big wave of sort of active interest. And I was actually just at a dinner last night here in Santa Monica, which was hosted by a systems integrator, and it's pretty interesting actually. You know, they've traditionally served operators and enterprise, you know, with hardware and helping make hardware choices, and this SI is entirely getting into, you know, how do we play a role in helping, you know, you architect your OpenStack cloud and make hardware choices related to your OpenStack cloud and so on. So, you know, OpenStack is forcing a very big change to the landscape. You know, by the way, you know, for networking, we use a big brand networking vendor for our border routers and so on. But, you know, we also experiment with the leading edge of networking options like Cumulus networks and so on in the cloud, and that enables us to bring our costs down. It enables us to have, you know, our sysadmins who are used to administering a Linux server, they can also administer, you know, the Linux-based, you know, Cumulus switch at the top of the rack. We can hook in all our you know, telemetry and monitoring to that. So that's, to me, that, you know, it's going to be all about the operator and how are you using OpenStack in detail, and what sort of performance characteristics you're getting out of your cloud, to me, over the next year.